We can now live on our own whimsical adventure in the Twinkling Fantasy event! And this event is definitely my personal Twinkling Fantasy because we have the debut of none other than Shiny Dedenne, which is super hype. Like, everything else about this event doesn't matter. What does matter is Shiny Dedenne. But of course, in this video, I'm going to talk about the event spawns, some things you should know about them, Mega Salamence, and then I'm also going to talk about the signature attack on Zekrom. What does it mean for it in the meta, in the raids, in the PvPs? Well, that's this video. We're going to talk about all those things. So this event runs from the 10th until the 16th. Mega Salamence makes its debut, and there's some event bonuses to give you some increased chance for, XL candy if you throw nice throws, great throws, and excellent throws, which is pretty good. Opportunity to get XL candy. What do we need XL candy for? Well, we do have Azumarill. Azumarill is a big XL Pokemon, so players that don't have XL Azumarill built yet for the Great League, or their XL Azumarill has kind of scuffed IVs and they want to get a better one, well, this is a great opportunity to catch a better IV Marill and to get XL candy in the process too, through just catching them. If you want to know what the best IVs are for a Great League PvP Azumarill, I'll link up above in the description to my Azumarill PvP IV deep dive. The video is about almost a year old now, but all the information is still basically the same. The recommendation for it is going to be high stat product, but there are defense and HP considerations that can be a pretty big deal for Azumarill, and there's ever so slight baby attack weight considerations too. So even if you are a high stat product minded player, I guess if you don't get the rank 1, you should probably check out the video so you're not building some scuffed, rank 6 when the rank 7 or something is better. I don't know which ranks they are, but check out the video. The video covers everything. The XL candy for most of these other spawns is also pretty nice if you're interested in them for their respective metas, but I'm personally quite interested in the XL candy for Dedenne, because level 51 maxed out Dedenne is still pretty bad in the Ultra League, but I do want to run it in the Ultra League. So I think this is a fantastic opportunity for me to catch Dedennes, get Dedenne XL candy, get the Shiny Dedenne on top of it, maybe get the Hundo Dedenne, so I can run an Ultra League Dedenne. Also, if you're curious about Dedenne's PvP IVs for the Great League, I don't have a Dedenne PvP IV deep dive out, but when Dedenne released about a year ago, I did talk about its better IV spreads in that video, so link up above in the description to the Dedenne video. Basically high stat product once again, but higher defense weights can have some interesting advantages. So it's like, rank whatever single digit rank also happens to have high defense could be good. Higher HP variations can also be quite good for Dedenne as well, having higher HP than what the rank 1 has. So Dedenne can be pretty fickle and can be pretty dynamic and interesting with its defense and HP weights. It's a pretty complicated Pokemon. Only true Dedenne enthusiasts can really, appreciate the finer details that go into Dedenne PvP IVs, let me tell you. If you're looking at these, you're lucky you might encounter the following spawns. I wouldn't go too crazy for these. The Gumi apparently isn't shiny, and we know that it's a pseudo-legendary Pokemon, so one day we're going to get the shiny for free anyways. And then, I can't remember the name of the attack. I should have looked it up before the video, but like Boom Blast or Boom Burst or whatever, I think it's Noibat's Evolution signature attack, was data mined not too long ago. So there's a lot of speculation that this thing might get a community day in the near future. So why go crazy trying to get this shiny when we're going to get the shiny anyways, right? So, yeah, play to your discretion. Dedenne is the main winner here. For people that don't have Azumarill yet, here's a fantastic opportunity to get the train rolling on that one. Man, Dedenne is also in 3-star raids here. If I spent money on this game still, which I don't anymore because Niantic disgusts me, I would totally be going all out doing remote raids for Dedenne. I mean, it's a 3-star raid, so you can solo Dedenne, so my free raid passes are probably going to be going to Dedenne raids. This is fantastic. This is the best timeline. This is quite literally my Twinkling Fantasy! Then we've got Zekrom and Mega Salamence here. When it comes to Mega Salamence in the raid meta, it isn't exactly the best Dragon type Mega, but it is technically the best Dragon type that does DPS Mega Pokemon that's out right now, I guess. Mega Rayquaza and Mega Garchomp are coming out sometime in the future, but right now Mega Salamence is number 1. I still feel like Mega Altaria is the better Mega Dragon for raids, In particular, though, still, if you want more details on that, link above in the description to the Mega Altaria analysis. But the basic idea is that you use dragons to fight dragons, so Mega Altaria gets that resistance, and then Mega Altaria also boosts the allies' dragon and fairy Pokemon. So it's a little bit more bespoke for that kind of support situation. The more allies you have, the more beneficial Mega Altaria becomes. But Mega Salamence is quite good. And who am I to deny you guys from using your Mega Salamences effectively, right? And then when it comes to Mega Salamence in the Mega Master League meta, or just the Master League in general, it is a pretty poor Pokemon, but PvPoke kind of turned me on to some information here on Twitter, and that is that there is a Sylph Factions meta, which is like a limited, interesting kind of Master League meta for people that are really, really into PvP in the Master League. It's like a whole thing. Following factions is like too much for me to handle, so I don't follow it. Sorry, factions players. But I will let you know that in factions, apparently Mega Salamence has some pretty interesting tech, because with the Fire Fang spam and the Dragon Tail spam, because it's a C6 pick 3 kind of meta, it has that interesting sort of dynamic bench pressure because your opponent doesn't know what to expect from it. And then because of the ban list that factions has, Mega Salamence just kind of doesn't have as big of problems there as it would in the Open Master League meta, or the normal Mega Master League meta. But for players that aren't into this hyper-specific, wacky kind of meta, Mega Salamence doesn't really have much use in the Master League meta, so no real big incentive to max it out to level 50, beyond the fact that it's Mega freaking Salamence and it looks really freaking cool and you're going to use it in raids, so do what you will with it, right? If you do plan on bringing Mega Salamence to the Master League meta, I just want to let you know that Dedenne could be there. Level 51 Shiny Dedenne from SwagTips kind of manhandles Mega Salamence here, provided that it's the 1/1 shield scenario specifically, and that's using Dragon Tail and not Fire Fang. Then next up, we got Fusion Bolt Zekrom here, which is looking better than the Wild Charge moveset, which is kind of interesting because Fusion Bolt is a single bar charge move. Usually single bar charge moves are worse than multi-bar charge moves in practice because of, you know, energy management situations. It's a whole thing. Usually they're worse, right? And Wild Charge is pretty good. But Fusion Bolt just hits hard enough and hits fast enough where on average it is going to outperform the Wild Charge. If you look at Zekrom specifically though, you will notice that it's not that big of an upgrade compared to Wild Charge. So you got Charge Beam Fusion Bolt at 17.98 DPS, and then Wild Charge with the Charge Beam having 17.46 DPS. So it is a significant, it's a nice DPS upgrade, but if you already have like a level 40 or level 50 Zekrom Hundo already capped out, Fusion Bolt really doesn't bring that much to the table where you'd want to spend an Elite TM or build a whole second Zekrom just to have Fusion Bolt. One thing to mention though is the best moveset overall would likely be Fusion Bolt with Wild Charge. That way you can Fusion Bolt while Zekrom is alive and healthy, and then if you're kind of guesstimating that you're not going to make it to 100 energy before your Zekrom gets knocked out, then you can throw Wild Charge. So that is like the most bespoke way to get spike DPS out of Zekrom, but all that effort really isn't worth that much because at the end of the day, Zekrom with Fusion Bolt is still worse than Xurkitree, so not top electric, but definitely a better electric than it was before. So it's definitely appreciated that Pokemon Go is finally releasing good signature attacks for Pokemon. I don't know why they've been holding off. Reshiram, I didn't do a Reshiram video, but obviously Reshiram's signature attack, Fusion Flare, is a really good attack for it, makes it a better fire type Pokemon. So glad that that's finally happening for them. When it comes to the PvP side of the force, things are a little bit more questionable for Fusion Bolt. It doesn't feel like as much of an upgrade over the Wild Charge because they both have the same energy cost, 45, and then Wild Charge does hit a bit harder than what the Fusion Bolt does. Now the Fusion Bolt doesn't have the self debuff, but usually the self debuff isn't that big of a problem for Zekrom because it's just debuffing his defense. So Zekrom, by the time it starts throwing the Wild Charges or the Fusion Bolts anyways, it's ready to get KO'd by the opponent. So debuffing your defense isn't often that big of a deal. Having that extra damage, usually it's like 10 to 15 extra damage to KO your opponent, can be quite a big deal. So in that respect, Wild Charge I feel is still on top. That said, they're close enough in performance where I could see how Fusion Bolt could end up being a superior move in some scenarios or in some specific like team matchups or strategies. So I wouldn't completely count Fusion Bolt out, but I think for the time being, like if you already got like your level 50 or your Hundo Zekrom, I'd just stick with Wild Charge. And if in the future people using Zekrom in the Master League find out that Fusion Bolt has some niche advantages, well then you could always Elite TM over then, and that probably is a bit more cost effective than building a whole new Hundo Zekrom from scratch. Right? So that's at least my kind of approach to it, but I don't think that it's overwhelmingly better. It's very, very slight if it could be better in the event that it is better. But right now, I'm going to say that Wild Charge is a bit better. This is a bit of a contrast to Reshiram with the Fusion Flare. Fusion Flare is a better move than Overheat. Overheat costs 55 energy. Fusion Flare costs 45 energy. Overheat decreases your attack stat by 2 stages, which is worse than decreasing your defense stat, because the moment you use Overheat, all of your attacks are now weaker, so it makes it really difficult to close with Reshiram. So I'd say for Reshiram, Fusion Flare is a straight upgrade in PvP. That said, Reshiram is still kind of a niche pick in PvP. I think the only person I've seen use it effectively, consistently, would be House Stark. So I don't see a lot out of Reshiram. I don't think this is a revolutionary upgrade for Reshiram, but it is an upgrade for Reshiram nonetheless, right? Because you don't debuff your attack, you have a good fire type auxiliary move. So yeah, good to know that now that the Reshiram event raids are over, right? But I don't think that this thing is a big deal in Master League PvP, and I don't even advise people to participate in Master League PvP to begin with because of the stupid cost associated with it. So that about wraps it up for the Twinkling Fantasy event! Overall, really good opportunity for people to get Marill candy and Marill spawns if they don't already have their Great League Azumarill. Dedenne finally shiny in Pokemon Go, which is fantastic. Mega Salamence is out, which is hype, and also has some weird niche utility in hyper-specific limited Master League metas for those that are interested. And then we also got Zekrom, which Fusion Bolt is a good signature attack. I'm glad that we're getting good signature attacks now. It's not so overwhelmingly good where you need to get it and Wild Charge is bad. Wild Charge is still basically as good, but definitely feels good that we're getting good signature attacks. And I also didn't do a Reshiram video, but for those curious, yeah, Reshiram, pretty good with the new signature attack. If you got any questions on this content, of course, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this kind of content and you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description. Swagman is finally upgrading his setup a little bit. Got a purple wall behind me instead of a white wall. What that means though is that it throws off my color filters and my lighting. So now I'm like glowy and yellow, which is weird. So gotta figure that one out.